Cash flow is critical for any business. If you're only looking at your cash flow when your bank account is low, you're already too late. In this market, reaction time matters more than precision. Focus on your cash flow on a regular basis. Welcome to week 2 of Protea Weekly. It's taking some adjustment to get used to, getting into the rhythm of recording on a regular basis, building the content, deciding what I want to talk about. But it feels good. I know it's coming up. I've got to put in the time. I've got to do the recording. I've got to do the prep work, got to do the editing, get the video up. I don't know. There's something very satisfying about it. Now it is only week 2, so I know I have a very busy February coming up, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to handle that. I might have to go to the live versions for February just purely from a time-saving standpoint. But it feels good to be back. It feels good to be thinking about how I can add value to my team, my clients, to the general population listening to these videos. And today I wanted to follow up a little bit. I spoke about discipline, specifically around the wine industry. A lot of difficult things happening there at the moment. But I wanted to follow up on discipline and talk about cash flow. Now, cash flow is one of the things that put the most pressure on discipline, because when times get really tough, people will make some decisions for purely cash flow basis, even though it might not be the best decision for their business in the long term and is definitely against their values and goals. Now, hopefully most of the time we're sticking to our values and not doing anything that we would not generally want to do, but it does happen at times because the pressure is on. But a lot of the times people will make decisions even though it is not helping them reach their ultimate goals or the goals that they've set for themselves. And it's tough. I mean, this is where, discipline can become so important in running a business. It's understanding what's important to you, where you're trying to go, and then taking those small baby steps along the way. Pressure comes, you fold, all of a sudden you take 10 steps away from your target, and that's not beneficial. Sure, it saves the business maybe in the short term, maybe it makes you feel more comfortable, but it does always come with a cost. And this is the problem. When we are forgetting about discipline, we're not necessarily thinking about how does this affect us in the long term? And that's the tough part. When we step away from discipline, we're generally having to walk away from some sort of goal. And with most of us, we'll justify the decision I made. This was the right decision. And that's hard. Was it? Wasn't it? Can I really judge if it was the right decision? All we can really think about is, I have a goal. Does this decision help me meet the goal? Am I sticking to my discipline? Am I sticking to the right procedures, processes, making the right thoughts and ideas to get me to those goals? And it's tough, right? This is where it gets tough because things happen. Trying to time out inventory and when cash flow has to go out is tough. Sometimes we just have to bottle early because the bottling line we want can only be available on a date that maybe doesn't work for us and definitely doesn't work for our cash flow, but we have to make that move. That could be okay, right? We still need to bottle the wine. Our goal is to bottle that wine, market that wine, sell that wine. Well, that decision, maybe it's the right decision. Let's bottle early rather than bottle late because we do want to get to market at a specific time, or we've made promises to wholesalers or to our direct consumer clients that it has to go out. AR collection delays can be a real big pressure on your cash flow. But this is where discipline comes in as well. You've given that wholesaler 30 days. Ask them for their money at 25 days. Remind them that they signed a contract with you and said, hey, you will pay me at 30 days. And this can be tough, especially when markets are tough or wholesalers are, pushing their weight around. We're so important. You got to sell your own wine. I get it, but they made an agreement. Letting them slip to 35, 45, 60 days, it's not building any goodwill. They don't really care that you gave them more days to pay. It's not changing their decision to buy or sell your wine. That still relates in, do they believe in your brand? Are you putting in the work? Can they sell your wine? Because that's all they care about. So ask them, have good processes in place to make sure you're collecting cash on time. That's discipline from your team, discipline from you as an owner, and you're setting a good example. We get a lot of pressure from vendor mismatches, and this one is tricky because there's only really 2 ways to go about it. Pay vendors when you promise them to, or if you know you're going to have a problem paying them, have a conversation early with them to set up either a new payment plan or some agreement that you'll pay them some now, some later. Don't be like those wholesalers we just spoke about and just not pay until somebody follows up with you. That's not great behavior. Sure, it might fix your cash flow in the short term, but that ill discipline could lead to that vendor saying, you know what, we can't trust you anymore. We're either 1, not selling to you, or 2, We're removing your terms, and now you got to pay us cash up front. And that ill discipline is thus put extra pressure on your cash flow. We have to stay on top of our cash flow, right? This is just, it is a have to have for businesses right now. And we recommend that our clients look at some sort of cash flow summary. Ideally, you have a budget that you created sometime last year for 2026. That budget gives you a sense of where you think you're going to spend money, your sales target, and the estimated profit you're going to make. But additionally, it has a cash flow element of it to tell you when you'll have your peaks and when you'll have your troughs of cash needing to go out of your business so that you can better plan. So you can speak to your bank, you can speak to your investors, you can talk about the short-term cash flow needs that you have. This is a disciplined process of let's create a budget, let's assess the budget, let's have conversations about the budget. Let's talk to people so that there are no surprises happening in the year ahead. That's step one. Step two, every quarter or so, let's relook at that budget. How are we doing? What have we missed? Have we forgotten about certain projects we wanted to take upon? Can we still do that project, or do we have to make adjustments? So this is what we call a budget to actual analysis. What actually happened versus what we budgeted, what are the differences, and why. Once we know why, we can then make adjustments for the next part of the year, or even better, for a rolling 12 months. Again, we're looking at sales, costs, profits, capital projects that we need to put out there, and most importantly, cash flow. Again, we need to know what is happening with those cash flows, and we start having conversations with our investors and bankers again. We now know when we're going to have the shortfall. Now we know when we're going to have good cash flow months. Talk soon, so if you need help, nobody's surprised. And a best case scenario, this is the number one discipline that you can do, is that you look at your cash flow on a regular basis. At least monthly, but weekly is probably better. Where is your cash right now? What is coming up for the next 4 or 12 weeks? And how do we navigate those periods where we have a shortfall? Is there a way to maybe bring a sale to our direct consumers early at one of our releases? Can we talk to a wholesaler about maybe paying us a little bit early, maybe for a discount? Can we talk to one of our vendors? Oh, that's like big great payment coming up. Let me reach out to them and see if I can maybe make them 3 payments in 3 weeks. Or even hand them, yes, 3 checks, please deposit them 3 weeks apart. Start having good conversations about the cash flow situation of your business. Make adjustments. Be aware and then take action. These good actions of discipline set you up in a better situation to be successful. You're not constantly running blind. You're not totally stressed out. You're still going to be stressed. Don't get me wrong. But when you know what is on the horizon, you can plan for it. You can make adjustments. You can have conversations. You can go talk to the bank, investors. Maybe you have to cut something. Hey, I plan to do this event for myself. I normally take a tax payment or whatever it is. Can I delay it a week? Can I delay it a month? Can I make slight adjustments to make sure that I'm still in a good position? Cash flow puts so much pressure on people because if you don't have cash, it's really hard to be in business. Profits are great. Awards are fantastic, but cash flow will be the make or break of your business. Because if you run out of cash, it's really hard to stay in business. And when you run out of cash and you're trying to stay in business, you're going to make some really bad decisions. That's a fact. It is harder to make good decisions when you're under the pump, when the pressure is on. So let's be prepared. Let's create good processes in our business to make sure we're thinking about the future, seeing the future, actually taking it in, not ignoring it, and then taking some action. Strong businesses, and strong wineries in particular, panic less because they are planning and are disciplined. It's important that you take action. I talk all the time about having really great accounting, and I believe at Protea Financial, we give people fantastic information. We give them good advice, but I cannot force anybody to take that advice, use that advice, and be disciplined. That's up to you as a business owner. The same way I run Protea Financial, it's important for me to see the information being provided to me, make decisions, and if the decision is still not fixing the outcome, make adjustments. Business is hard because things change constantly. We create goals, we create plans, but we have to keep an eye on them. How's this going? How's that going? How's this going? And make adjustments along the way. We don't have to change our goals, but we might need to change the path that we get there. Might have to zig and zag a little bit. We cannot ignore something just because we don't like the outcome. This is the moment where good leaders, good business owners step up, show the discipline, stick to their goals, and make good adjustments. Go get yourself a really good team. Get a team that will give you good data. Get somebody that will hold you accountable. And then trust yourself. Trust the numbers, trust the plan, have those conversations, be disciplined, and keep chugging towards your goals. Try and not make rash decisions. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you're hungry, you're going to make bad decisions. Think about cash as food to your business. If you don't have enough cash, you're starving. When you're starving, you're going to make bad decisions. Let's be better about it. Have good processes in place. Be open to having conversations. Be flexible but firm on your goals. Cash will put pressure on your business, especially if it is running low. But this is where good business owners make adjustments and succeed. Set a budget, review it regularly, and make sure you have a cash flow forecast process in place that allows you to make quick adjustments as things aren't going your direction. Build the discipline. Totally switching topics. I just finished an audiobook, and I think what I'm going to do on a weekly basis if I finish a book, I'm just going to share a little bit about it. I'll also drop the name of the book and the link and the author. So I just finished up Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Great book. I believe it's the second time I've listened to it. It's a little dated. I'm just trying to quickly see when it was. The release date was 2020, but you can see how far we've come since then because they talk about managing millennials, and Gen Z is not involved in this book. So that part of the book was interesting because it brings up a lot of good points, and I think great points for winery owners as well about what makes a millennial tick. And a lot of it is about values, cause, and they can see that the people involved are truly relatable and authentic. I think we can all take from that understanding, hey, millennials are a big part of the market to sell to right now. So that was a good part of it. The big part about the book for me and taking it away is about building trust. And building trust in teams comes down to making good decisions. We've just spoken about discipline and financial discipline and cash flow. Well, the best way to build trust is say you're going to do something and do it. That little bit of follow through, right? That's how we build trust. We also build trust by getting to know our team, not just their name, their college, and what they do for us, but who they truly are. What does their family life look like? What do they like doing on weekends? What motivates them? These things are important. Listen, respond, have conversations, bring it up in topics. Talk to them about what's important. People want to be heard. It's not just all about work. If we want to build a good space to work, if we want to build people that, a team where people want to come to work and add value to our clients, we have to build this world of trust. And this book, Leaders Eat Last, the subtitle is Why Some Teams Pull Together and Others Don't, is all about trust. It's all about building a place where people feel safe. They believe in what you do. They believe in the mission, and they work together towards that goal. And I think it's a great point for everybody. Get to know your team, share the values of the business, and stick to those values. Take actions in those values, make decisions in those values, preach those values, live those values, and as a leader, set example. Show people that you care, show people that you will do what you say you will do, and you'll build this great environment of trust, an environment where people feel safe and trusted. They tend to perform better. That's the fact. So I highly recommend the book. Go give it a read. I appreciate you listening. Week 2 of Protea Weekly in the books. Until next time, have a good week.